Alright, so with the start of the new year and the first quarter in 2026, that means it's time for a quick update on exactly what's in my wallet. So let's jump right into things with the first credit card here, where I'm going to actually have the option to choose from one of 3 brand new credit cards that we'll officially be learning more about very shortly after this video is uploaded. And that, of course, is going to be one of the new Bilt 2.0 cards. So right now, as I'm filming this on January 7th, Bilt hasn't publicly revealed what the differences between these 3 cards are going to be, even though there's now a ton of rumors and leaks that are currently floating around over on Reddit. But what we do know directly from what Bilt has said is that one card's going to have no annual fee, one card's going to cost $95 per year, and the third is going to come in at $495 per year. Now, like I said, there's a bunch of rumors and supposed leaks out there at the moment. However, the unconfirmed information that we're seeing is kind of all over the place with different variants on these 3 cards, different names, and different multipliers and benefits. So it's pretty tough to pinpoint exactly what these new cards are going to look like and what all this stuff actually means until we hear from Bilt themselves. Now, I'm not going to speculate on anything because my unpopular opinion is that I want to hear what Bilt has to say about their new cards and how earning points on mortgages is going to work before I judge anything as being bad or good. But what I will say here is that if any of these rumors are true, then Bilt 2.0 is going to be going through some massive changes. However, as of now, I do expect that I'll be testing out at least one of these 3 new Bilt cards myself in some capacity once we have access to them. So here's how all that stuff is going to work with an upcoming Bilt event that's happening in just a day or 2 after this current video that you're watching is uploaded. So on January 14th, Bilt's hosting an event to finally reveal everything officially about their new cards and their new program. And then shortly after that event, I'm going to make a separate video just recapping everything you need to know about all that stuff. So if you haven't already, then make sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss that. But then starting on January 14th is when current Bilt card holders like myself are going to be able to start selecting and then pre-ordering one of those 3 new cards for a February 7th transition date to the new Bilt 2.0 program. During that transition, for anyone who's curious, it's important to note that there will not be a new hard inquiry on your credit report if you select a new Bilt card. However, a new credit card account will be open for you with Cardless if you choose to transition over to Bilt 2.0 like I'll be doing, because Cardless is now going to be the new servicer of Bilt cards. Also, by me doing that transition, what's going to happen is that my old Wells Fargo Bilt MasterCard is going to stop working after February 6th, and then I'm going to have the option to choose to either close that existing Wells Fargo account, or I could just keep it open and it's going to be converted into a no annual fee Wells Fargo autograph card. Now, I did see a comment on a previous video where a bunch of people wanted to know if I was going to choose to keep that autograph card during this whole transition. And for me, I do plan to keep that autograph account open because, again, it has no annual fee and there's really just not that much downside for me to keep it open personally. For other people, though, it's really not a huge deal if you do close that account during the Bilt transition if you don't want that autograph card. Just be aware, though, that you are going to lose the credit limit on that account, but the account itself is going to stay on your credit report for up to 10 years if it's closed in good standing. The impact of closing a credit card account really isn't that big of a deal for most people who have a more mature credit profile, but in my opinion, I just don't like canceling a no annual fee card if I don't have to, especially in a case like this where I already have several years of good credit history with that account that I've accumulated while it was with Bilt. Also, I've said this in another recent video about 7 amazing credit cards that no one really uses, but the Wells Fargo autograph itself is actually a highly underrated option for the average person because it gets 3x points per dollar on a bunch of categories like restaurants, travel, gas, transit, popular streaming services, and phone plans. For the hardcore credit card optimizers out there, you will not get a sign-up bonus by transitioning over to the autograph card like this, but to me, I'm okay with that because this card wasn't really in my plans to get anytime soon anyway. And also, as someone who reviews a lot of credit cards here for this channel, my situation obviously for keeping this card is going to be different than yours, and that plays a role here as well. So yeah, I figured it would be good to sort of document my initial thoughts here on Bilt 2.0 prior to the official announcement. So I am expecting that I'm going to get one of those new Bilt 2.0 cards for my wallet setup here in Q1 of 2026. But I really do have to run the numbers once I know for sure what everything is going to look like without just speculating. All right, next here, let's move over to the no annual fee Discover It cashback card that'll also be in my wallet for Q1 of 2026. And having a cashback card like this alongside a points earning card from Bilt, as well as a few other points earning cards that we'll talk about next here, that is going to go along with my overall plan to have more of a hybrid cashback and travel setup this year in 2026. Now, the Discover It card, of course, is famous for earning 5% cashback on the first $1,500 of spending on rotating quarterly categories that change every 3 months. And for this quarter from January through March of 2026, those categories are going to include grocery stores, wholesale clubs, and select streaming services. So out of those 3 categories, I'm really going to be focusing on using this Discover card for wholesale clubs the most because I've got another card here for groceries that we'll talk about later on. And recently, I actually got a membership to BJ's Wholesale Club that's going to be pretty useful to me this quarter with Discover. Now, truth be told, I probably would have joined Costco if there was one that was closer to me. But for anyone watching this who does have a Costco membership, you might already know that if you're paying with a credit card inside of a physical Costco store, you're only going to be able to use a Visa card, which means that this Discover category for wholesale clubs is not going to work at Costco. So that is one positive thing for being a BJ's member, is that they accept cards from Visa, MasterCard, American Express, and Discover. And to me, I'm fine with earning 5% cash back versus my other option of earning either 2x or 1.5x points or miles with either the Capital One Venture X or the Chase Freedom Unlimited, respectively. That's because my rule with earning credit card points from any one of the major transferable points currencies is that I value those points at 2 cents per point each, which is going to be around the average that I know I'm able to get when I go around and transfer those points to book travel. So earning 2x miles per dollar on the Venture X, for example, becomes worth 4% back in value at that cent per point rate and 5% back at wholesale clubs with the Discover It card this quarter for Q1, therefore is going to beat 4% in value on the Venture X. Now for streaming, I could put that on the Discover It card as well to get 5% back this quarter, but the most expensive streaming service I pay for right now is Hulu Plus Live TV, and that just goes on my Amex Platinum card because I get $25 back over there thanks to the digital entertainment credit. So I might move payments for things like Netflix and YouTube Premium over to the Discover It card if I can, but honestly, I'm not a big fan of overcomplicating how I earn rewards on such smaller automatic subscriptions like that, because it really is kind of annoying trying to then remember to move around which card is used for what for those things in the future. Typically, what I've done in the past is I've actually used my Bilt MasterCard to pay for any automatic streaming subscriptions because that card had a requirement for 5 transactions per statement period in order to earn Bilt points. So putting payments for subscriptions on that card really helped me to automate meeting that requirement. But again, at the time of filming this, I don't know if that same requirement is going to be around still for Bilt 2.0 yet. So I'm going to have a better update on this on next quarter's What's My Wallet video. All right, moving on here. After that, we've got the Chase Freedom Flex in my wallet for Q1 of 2026, which is going to be another rotating category card. So just like the Discover It, the Freedom Flex also earns 5% back on up to $1,500 in total combined purchases each quarter in select categories that change every 3 months. Right now, from January through March, those categories are going to be Norwegian Cruise Lines, dining, and the American Heart Association. So those are some interesting picks from Chase, and in my opinion here, we have kind of been seeing them devalue the categories on this card over the past year. But the one category that I'm going to be focusing on the most here that's super valuable is dining. Now, even though you'll see the Freedom Flex being advertised as earning 5% cash back on those rotating categories like dining this quarter, you're actually going to be earning 5x ultimate rewards points per dollar. And that's very important here because if you hold one of the Chase Sapphire cards like I do, what you could do is obviously then combine the points earned from the Freedom Flex with one of those Sapphire cards. That allows me to then have the ability to redeem the 5x points earned here with the Freedom Flex with the transfer partners like Hyatt that those Sapphire cards are known for having. So again, that means I'm able to get closer to around that 2 cent per point target redemption rate that I have. However, there's one really cool hidden secret about earning 5x back on dining with this card when it's one of the rotating categories, and that's the fact that you're not actually earning 5x points per dollar, but instead you're actually earning 7x points per dollar thanks to the existing 3x dining multiplier on the Freedom Flex and the way these different multipliers kind of stack together. So basically the way this works is that the Freedom Flex normally earns 5x points on rotating quarterly categories and then 3x points on dining, but the way Chase structures this is that you're actually getting a base 1x point per dollar on everything and then an additional 4x points on rotating categories to get a total of 5x, or an additional 2x points on dining to get a total of 3x. But when dining is a rotating category itself and it overlaps with that existing dining category, you're able to get all those multipliers combined. So that's 1x base point, 2x additional points for the standard dining category, and then 4x additional points for the rotating dining category. And that is how you get a total of 7x points per dollar on dining for Q1, which is obviously insanely valuable for a no annual fee credit card to earn. Now, this 7x on dining is going to be especially useful to me and my wife this quarter because we have a trip coming up to Hawaii very soon where we're going to be doing lots of dining spend. Also, because I have my own Freedom Flex and then my wife has her own Freedom Flex, that means we can get 7x back on up to $1,500 of dining spend this quarter on my card, and then 7x back on up to another $1,500 of dining spend on her card as well. That's $3,000 of combined dining spend at that elevated multiplier that should easily cover us for all that Hawaii trip and all the other dining spend that we normally do outside of traveling. But we do also have a trip coming up to Dublin and Edinburgh later in Q1 where I do not plan on using the Freedom Flex for dining. And that's because the one downside to this card is that it does have a 3% foreign transaction fee. I like to avoid foreign transaction fees at all costs, even though 7x points minus a 3% foreign transaction fee is still a net positive. So my first choice for dining on that trip to Dublin and Edinburgh is also going to be my grocery store card this quarter, and that of course is the American Express Gold card. So the Amex Gold earns 4x points at restaurants worldwide and 4x points on groceries at US supermarkets, which makes it an easy choice for groceries in my setup. However, I am really curious to see if groceries does become become a multiplier on one of those 3 new Bilt cards, because that could potentially shake things up in the credit card space. Now, the downside to earning 4x points at restaurants worldwide on the gold card with no foreign transaction fees is that it can kind of be a hit or miss for places outside the US to even accept Amex. So there's probably going to be times where I'll just use another Visa or MasterCard on that Dublin and Edinburgh trip if I have to. All right, next up here is going to be my catch-all card. And for this, it's going to be pretty much the same as it's always been for the past few years, where my wife and I like to use either my Chase Freedom Unlimited or her Capital One Venture X. The Freedom Unlimited earns 1.5x on everything, while the Venture X earns 2x on everything. And the only real advantage to using the slightly lower Freedom Unlimited to us is that earning Chase points with that card can be valuable, so that then we can take those Chase points and use them for Hyatt transfers in the future. We've got a decent balance of Chase points right now though, so for the most part this quarter, I do think we'll probably end up using the Venture X as our catch-all card in most situations. The Venture X is also good because it has no foreign transaction fees and it's a Visa card, so that makes it a very good no-brainer default option to use outside the US on pretty much all other spending as well. After that, another card that we've always got in my wallet is going to be the no annual fee Citi Custom Cash, which I think everyone out there should have, regardless of whether you're on Team Travel or Team Cashback. The Custom Cash earns 5% cash back on your top spending category each billing cycle on up to $500 of spending, and those categories include restaurants, gas stations, grocery stores, select travel, select transit, select streaming services, drugstores, home improvement stores, fitness clubs, and live entertainment. That 5% cash back is also earned as 5x Citi thank you points per dollar. So if you have either one of the Citi Strata cards like the Premier or the Elite like I do, then what you could do is you can combine those points earned with the Custom Cash and the Strata cards, and that's going to give you access to a bunch of really great one-to-one transfer partners, including American Airlines now. So in my wallet setup for this quarter, the Custom Cash is only being used as a gas credit card for my wife and I to get 5x back on that as our highest spend category by default, but you could also use this card as a grocery store card, which I think would be very smart as well. Honestly, combining the Citi Custom Cash with the Citi Double Cash that earns 2x on everything, along with the Citi Strata Premier, which earns 3x on air travel, hotels, restaurants, supermarkets, gas, and EV charging, that trifecta setup is becoming a lot more appealing to me, and I could see myself shifting over to that setup as the year progresses. That's because it's a super cheap setup at only $95 per year total across those cards, and because I'm based here in the Philadelphia area where Philly is an American Airlines hub, I'm flying American Airlines like 80% of the time, and so having these Citi points to transfer over to American is definitely useful to me personally. Next, for my business credit card, I'm just going to keep things super simple and use my Chase Inc. Business Unlimited for almost all of my business spend at the moment. So this card has no annual fee and it earns a flat 1.5x points per dollar on everything, which is really easy when my business expenses are kind of all over the place. I may have some other business spend later this year that could require a different card with certain multipliers, so I have some ideas in mind for that. But for now, this card gets the job done and just keeps things very organized for me for tax purposes as well. For my debit card, just like always, I have my Schwab Bank Visa Platinum debit card that's linked to my Schwab Bank investor checking account, and I only keep a few $100s inside of this account, but it's a very good option for me to have for getting money out of an ATM if I ever need cash anywhere in the world. That's because this debit card allows me to have unlimited ATM fee rebates for cash withdrawals worldwide, and I've actually used this feature a lot, so it's been a great option to have for those different occasions where I maybe do need some cash for tipping or other stuff like that, even when I'm out traveling in another country that uses a different currency. But let me know what's in your wallet as well this quarter, because I'm always curious. And again, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned later on this week for an upcoming video going over everything you need to know about the new Bilt 2.0 cards and program. And also, if you haven't already, then make sure to go ahead and check out this video over here on the screen next that goes over my entire 2026 credit card strategy in more detail. But as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.